Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast, and today we're going to be going over my top 10 NFL wide receivers for the 2020 NFL season. Let's get right into it with my number 10 guy on this list, and that is Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. I think Keenan Allen, to me, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL, and I think he's not one of the most, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he's not one of the most flashy guys in the league. He's not on that highlight reel making spectacular catches all the time, one hand grabs, completely going deep, getting those deep routes. But I think he is hugely underrated. I think Keenan Allen, plain and simple, might be the best route runner in the NFL. Top two, with one guy and a guy that I'm going to get to later, I think. And I think that, route running is one of the top main parts of being a receiver, so that is a big thing there that he's one of the best at it. I think it's what I noticed with him, his ability to look like he is fully committed to a route and then just be able to drop his hips within 3 steps, immediately change directions. I think it's unparalleled in the league. Faking out defenders with hard steps to the inside just to go outside is really, really amazing, as most defensive backs in the league can't keep up with that, and he is able to get separation that way, which he really couldn't get because he doesn't have the most speed in the world. So because of that elite route running, he's able to make up for his lack of speed in a way because he's able to create separation. He's a Keenan, huge underneath threat on whip routes, slants, out routes. His patterns, they're so versatile underneath. It's super fun to watch. He's not super flashy again, but he has a lot of intricate patterns that he runs down underneath, and is a very good receiver for like a 3rd and 5 down. If you need to pick up a first down, you're counting on somebody to get open in the short intermediate passing game. Keenan Allen is the perfect. Again, he doesn't have the elite speed, not the explosiveness, but I think he's one of the most technically skilled receivers in the league. So that's why he lands here at number 10. Number 9, we have Chris Godwin. I think definitely the surprise, or one of the surprise receivers from last season. I was lucky enough to have him on my fantasy team last year and definitely won me a few games. What I was surprised about was that people were jumping and putting Chris Godwin top 5 on this list, saying he was the best receiver on the Buccaneers. But I would have to disagree at this point. Yes, that might be a spoiler about who's going to be higher up on this list, but I think it's fine. I think most of us could have assumed that anyway. I'm not saying that Chris Godwin is not talented, because he's extremely talented. He's here at number 9. I think he was able to show his talents to the fullest last season, and that's why he had such a great season production-wise. But, Chris Godwin, I think he had been very under the radar for the past 2 seasons before that, and it finally really came to fruition last season. The reason that I think he really is such a great receiver is that he has the ability to work in almost all offenses, but I think it works especially well in Tampa Bay, where a lot of the goal with Jameis Winston was just to go downfield. Winston chucks the ball deep and you come down with a catch, that was the philosophy. Granted, it didn't always work, as Winston had so many interceptions last year, as we all know, but it definitely worked for Godwin's production, and he had a great fantasy year. But I think, Godwin is very, very good with contested catches along with difficult catches, very little drops. He's got very good hands. He has a great catch rate, number 6th in the league. But he caught 51.2% of his targets that weren't deemed accurate, according to PFF. Thank you for that stat. But which is the 3rd best rate in the NFL. So meaning that he caught the 3rd highest amount of balls that weren't considered accurate passes, which means that he's able to adjust to catch balls, which is very important. He's definitely a very reliable piece to work on the outside against defensive backs, especially works really well in Tampa. Not the best route runner in the world, so he's not the best underneath, but he's pretty well-rounded all around, and I really like him as a receiver and how he could fit into many different schemes. My one concern is maybe we have a Juju Smith type situation where you have a guy being guarded by the number 2 corner, and therefore, he's way more opportunity, not having the constant double teams and stuff like that. And I think that could be some case, but not too much. There are too many great traits for me to put Godwin any lower. So definitely a guy to be scared of, as he can do almost everything at an elite level. I'm excited to watch Godwin play this year in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. And now at number 8, we have Amari Cooper of the Dallas Cowboys. I think Amari Cooper, as we just talked about with Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper is the definition of a well-rounded receiver. He has the ability to do almost everything on the field. And I think that's an underrated aspect of his game. We think of Amari Cooper, we think of underneath guy that excels at getting open in single coverage, in routes, slants, out routes, in short, intermediate passing games similar to Adam Thielen or a less good Michael Thomas in that way. But I was pleasantly surprised when I was watching him. I was seeing Amari do much more than that. He can really work in all areas of the field at an equally elite level. I think he's able to work well against zone coverage, man coverage. Very, very underrated deep threat as well. If we look at it, he did run a lot of deep routes, 2.2 yards per route run, 7th in the league. He also has 39 targets of 10-plus yards downfield, in which he had a step or more of separation, which was the 5th most by an outside receiver. So that's huge. He was able to get separation on those deep routes. And that was really, really impressive to me. I think he really works well as a weapon for Dak. He's someone who can get open on deep comeback routes, which Dak throws so well. And I don't have too much to say about Amari Cooper, other than the fact that he's one of the most versatile weapons in the NFL today. He fits great in Dallas and with Dak Prescott, and I'm excited to see what he does in the Cowboys offense this year. At number 7, we have Odell Beckham Jr. I think Odell is forgotten about way too much. He had one poor season with the Browns. You can't write him off yet. Yes, he is not as high as I think he should be, but, again, if we're just looking at talent alone, he might be top 4, top 5 guy in the league, but we haven't really seen it all come together on the football field, and part of that is attributed to the terrible coaching, poor quarterback play last season. As this past year, we saw 28% of his targets past the first down line result in a quarterback fault incompletion. But I think that we were not seeing all that Odell was capable of on the field as well. So the production, the on-field performance didn't equal the talent. So I had to bump him down a little bit. But Odell, extremely well-rounded. If he puts it all together, he would definitely be higher up on this list. We all know his flashy catches, and that's what we've seen and come to be accustomed to from Odell. And he does have great hands. We kind of saw a little bit of a surprising struggle. He was number 1 in drops last season, which is very uncharacteristic of Odell, and I hope that doesn't happen again. Odell, to me, very surprisingly fast and quick. Ran a 4.31 at the combine. Very top-notch speed. Very shifty receiver as well. Quick, changing directions. And you would think that this would be a lethal combination for separation, which it was, but not as great at getting separation as I would have thought, considering how fast and agile, quick he is. I do expect to see that separation increase this year. I think he just needs to get things more together, be more in communication with this quarterback, which I think will definitely come along this year with Stefanski as their head coach. But for me, again, the talent is there. The production performance is not there for Odell. So, again, top talent in the NFL. I just would like to see a well-put-together performance on the field as well, fixing up some of the things that he has failed to do last year that I've seen him do at an elite level in the past, so I know it's there for him. So, yeah, that's why I've got Odell at number 7. Number 6, we're getting to Mike Evans. This is the best guy on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, despite Chris Godwin's breakout season, Mike Evans, ever since he entered the league, has been a monster in terms of physicality. 6'5", 225 pounds, runs pretty well for a big guy. And as you expect, this size, speed lends really well to being an NFL receiver. I love the physicality in wide receivers. Definitely a huge element and really helps him be successful. He's a contested catch machine, really has been his whole career. More contested catches than anyone else in the league since 2017. He's big. He doesn't get the most separation, but, actually he's pretty poor at getting separation. But he uses his size and physicality more than his speed to move defensive backs around, come down with the ball. Great tool on the outside where he can work one-on-one with a defensive back, which, he'll be doing even more than ever, working one-on-one on the outside. Now with the emergence of Chris Godwin, the addition of Rob Gronkowski. So I expect a great year from Mike Evans with his new quarterback, Tom Brady, obviously. I think one weakness, though, working in tighter, more compact areas of the field. He's not the shiftiest guy. He's not, if it's a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, as we were talking about with Keenan Allen earlier, he's not the guy that I want for that. But I think that's his biggest weakness. But, I think in terms of physicality, just being a dominant force, dominant presence on the outside, it's really hard to cover him one-on-one. I've got to put Mike Evans here at 6. And at number 5, we have DeVante Adams, and this is the last guy I consider in the tier 2 of wide receivers. After this, these are my tier 1 guys. DeVante Adams is at the top of this tier 2, which is a very good thing. But really, there's a reason that he's the 5th best receiver in the league for me, and he's a top 3 route runner. As we were talking with Keenan Allen earlier, I think it's DeVante Adams and Keenan Allen that are the best 2 route runners in the league. Separates surprisingly well, again, because of that route running. He does not have that top-notch athleticism. He's actually relatively slow considering, wide receivers. I can't be talking, but I think he's a dangerous weapon all areas of the field. Not the best deep threat, but if you can catch him on the right route, you can do a lot of damage. I saw that multiple times. And again, we see a lot of coverage on DeVante Adams because of the not a lot of weapons there in Green Bay, so he's gotten doubled and stuff like that more frequently than a lot of other guys. But he reminds me of less versatile, less athletic versions of a couple of the guys that are going to be above him. Again, the ability to drop the hips, shift directions very, very well, and get downfield is a huge bonus to me, and he's able to create separation without having that elite speed. Very reliable guy, separate almost anywhere on the field, not the fastest or most explosive, but he does the job for Green Bay and is an elite wide receiver 1 target. Now, number 4, we have Tyreek Hill. And I think this is where we're getting the best of the best. The top 4 here, they're clear top 4 to me. And we start here with Tyreek Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs. And even though he's not the top receiver in the NFL, I certainly see the argument. I know some people do have him as their top receiver, but I would definitely say, without a doubt, he's the single most dangerous weapon in football at any position, because you take your eye off him for just 1 second, boom, 70-yard touchdown. And of course, we all know what makes Tyreek Hill special. His speed, shiftiness down the field. He's just able to slide in and out of coverage like nobody's business. And I think it's a perfect match for Kansas City, which has an offense that is predicated on making big plays with Patrick Mahomes and the rest of that offense. And I don't think I need to explain too much there, but I will explain why Tyreek Hill is not higher on this list. I believe that, Tyreek is not as unstoppable as the guys above him. I believe some of his dominance is reliant on Kansas City and what they do as an offense. As a defense that you need to worry about on that Kansas City Chiefs team is incomprehensible. You got Tyreek, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire now, Sammy Watkins, and of course, best quarterback in the league in my opinion. Perfect for this sort of play style, Patrick Mahomes, along with one of the best play callers in the league, Andy Reid. Now, I don't think his surroundings should be used against him too much. I know I just said it, but I think if you put Tyreek in different circumstances, like the Saints, his talents wouldn't be nearly as impactful. They'd be almost nullified, and what he would do best would just be taken away. So that's why I believe the guys above him are better. They could move to almost any offense in the NFL and be equally productive. But don't get me wrong, Tyreek Hill, crazy talent in the NFL, most dangerous weapon in football. And he and the Chiefs offense are meant to be. So Tyreek Hill at number 4. At number 3, we have Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. And I think Michael Thomas definitely deserves a top 3 spot on this list. Not a doubt for me. Extremely talented. And we've really seen his growth and progression. And to be honest, last season he had one of the best seasons from a wide receiver of all time. And I don't get the criticism for Michael Thomas. Many people think that he is overrated because he, quote, only runs slants. But I think that's ridiculous. First of all, Michael Thomas didn't even have as many yards on slants as DeAndre Hopkins did. And I've never heard anybody criticize DeAndre Hopkins for, only running slants. And if you take away slants from his numbers, too, he is still the 3rd highest graded receiver, had the most yards still, had the most receptions still. And then secondly, I don't hear anyone saying all Tyreek Hill runs is deep routes. He's extremely great at running slants, so why should he not use them? That's like telling a boxer who throws the best left hook in the world and knocks everybody out with that one punch that all of a sudden he can't do that. I don't understand that criticism at all. It's a ridiculous assumption to me to say that because he runs a lot of slants that he's a bad receiver. Also, the idea that the Saints are what makes him great is not true at all. Drew Brees, of course, generationally accurate quarterback. Michael Thomas, I feel like, would be successful with all teams. Again, yes, the Saints gives him more opportunity, takes advantage of his strengths, but I don't think it changes how, quote, good he actually is. I think Michael Thomas, one of the quickest route runners in the NFL, probably 3rd best in my opinion. And that's what makes his slants, his routes, his release off the gate is so deadly. His ability to change direction. And I do think the stats are a bit misleading because he was the only real major contributor to the offense last year and was constantly seeing targets. So yeah, the stats I think aren't completely reflective of how good he is. But Michael Thomas, great hands. While not the fastest guy, he can definitely get open with his separation. I think my only knock on Thomas is he is not the most versatile guy. I just was stating that, I just said I know that running slants shouldn't be held against him. But when we're comparing all these guys, I'm looking at what they can do well and all of that. I don't think Michael Thomas works as well against cornerbacks on the outside down the field as the 2 guys above him. Yes, we don't get to see it as much, but when I've seen it, I don't think it's as good as the people above him, but might as well take advantage of his strengths, which I don't blame the Saints for at all because he is one of the best receivers in the league, especially underneath. And now with Emmanuel Sanders in that offense, I'm excited to see what happens with Michael Thomas, but I expect another elite season from the guy I consider the 3rd best receiver in football. Now let's get to my top 2 wide receivers. And this was very, very, very close for me. They both are extremely different while being extremely similar at the same time. And I almost put it as a tie. But at number 2, we have DeAndre Hopkins. And this was, again, very tough decision. I almost put these 2 guys as a tie. We all know what happened this offseason. He was traded for almost a bag of chips. Not the brightest move considering we have DeAndre Hopkins here as the 2nd best receiver in the league. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a very interesting receiver to me. He's always been one of my favorite players ever since he came out of Clemson. One of those technically sound receivers in the league. And what do I mean by that? I mean, he's someone who catches the ball extremely consistently, good route runner. Same as I said with Michael Thomas. He's got a great ability to get open solely with route running alone. He's also very good at picking up those extra yards. He has a unique ability, kind of similar to Julian Edelman. He is able to turn a 6-yard catch into a first down, even though it looked like it would be impossible, which can be extremely helpful in systems that revolve around a shorter passing game, consistently picking up first downs. He's not as reliable on deep plays. For example, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins would have as much of an impact in, say, Kansas City as he would in New England or New Orleans, somewhere like that, where he could really take advantage of his strengths. But I think that's part of the reason I have Hopkins at 2. I feel as if the number 1 guy could really play in more systems with pretty consistent success. Don't get me wrong, though, DeAndre Hopkins is good as a deep receiver, just not elite. He doesn't have the elite speed. But I think, again, he's a good receiver, all parts of the field, in the slot, on the outside, deep down the field, short, really anywhere. But again, DeAndre Hopkins probably has the best hands in the league. Anything that is put in his vicinity, he catches pretty much. That is a huge bonus. Really makes difficult catches in tight places, and also where, the ball placement might not be the best. We'll see how he works with Kyler Murray this year, who I think will improve his accuracy, but he has missed some throws here and there. And I think, the ability to make those tight catches really makes up for the weakness in DeAndre Hopkins' game, which is the speed, acceleration, which is becoming a huge part of today's game. And I think not being the most fast receiver, not being extremely fast, can limit what you bring to an offense. Don't get me wrong, he's not slow or anything, but he doesn't have the elite speed of some other guys in the league. But overall, though, DeAndre Hopkins, elite talent at wide receiver, bring a whole new element to the Cardinals offense, which I'm super excited to watch next year. And yeah, that's why I've got DeAndre Hopkins at number 2. And I think we all know where this is going. We've got one guy left, and that is Julio Jones, the best receiver in the NFL. Again, very close, but I feel like I had to put Julio here. Probably the strongest receiver in the game. Just bullies cornerbacks, defensive backs on the outside. They can't do anything. No, I don't think he's probably the most dominant, most scary cornerback if I was a corner. I know, shout out to Induce Sports, always says if I was a cornerback, I would be shaking if I was guarding Julio Jones, not so much DeAndre Hopkins. Very good hands, contested catch machine, very fast, again, runs. That's, I think, what separates DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones for me. The ability to play in more systems, because Julio Jones has that athleticism a little bit more than DeAndre Hopkins does. But what I would say Julio Jones' biggest weakness is in the red zone. He's not the most shifty guy, not the most refined. And I don't think that doesn't lend super well to the red zone, where everything is much more compact. He can't really, build up speed and bully guys on the outside, dominate like one-on-one as he would like to. And I think he definitely is helped by the fact that the Falcons have a pretty good receiving core. But, I think he'd be dominant no matter what. So, again, most dominant guy in the league, strongest receiver in the game, just a freak athlete, is a contested catch machine. And, yeah, that's why I've got Julio Jones at number 1. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And yeah, those are my top 10 receivers. Thanks for listening. Peace.